In this video, I'll be creating hydraulic prototypes for pipes and culverts. We'll get to the prototypes in the Components tab. And then to create a new prototype, we're just going to right-click Conduit and then create a new one. So let's start with our pipes. We're going to want to create a prototype for each one of these feature definitions. So we'll just start at the top and work our way down. Also going to be creating separate prototypes for all of the culverts, as well as all of the existing features. Later on, we're going to be creating prototypes for ditches, which are also going to live inside of this conduit section. As you create these, they are going to be stored in the order you create them. There's no way to rearrange them, so if you do want them in a particular order, decide that up front so that you can know where to start. Create the pipes first, so I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to be consistent with what I did with my features, and I'll just call this pipe arch concrete. Then we'll double click that prototype to get the properties up. This is a proposed pipe, so I do want it to design the conduit as well as the start and stop invert, and I'm not going to specify any local pipe constraints. Although I could by just right-clicking and changing that to true, and then I would want to make sure that I fill out all of these for what I want for that particular type of pipe. But just know if you do this in the prototype, then that is going to consider this a local change to that, and it's going to affect how your parent-child relationship works inside of your design alternative. So for that reason, you may opt to keep this set to false. Is diversion link will set to false. I'm not going to account for head losses through the conduit or any infiltration, inflow, or seepage. The output options will leave it summary. This is going to be a conduit catalog. We'll set the conduit class. And then for the size, you can set an initial size. I like to leave it set to none, and then that way the first time you go and pick the size during placement, it's going to go ahead and populate these properties. You can set a default number of barrels, however. I'll leave that set to 1, as well as a default barrel gap. That's the space between the barrels. Now, the Manning's value is what we're going to want to set that manually inside of the prototype. So that is something that doesn't always populate from the conduit catalog, and you want to make sure that's correct inside of your prototypes here. I'm going to set the used local conduit description to false. We want set invert to start and stop true, user defined length false, and then I'll scroll down. Everything else I'm going to leave as the default. For user defined, we're going to set the conduit type to user defined conduit, and then you're going to set your section. This is just going to be a placeholder. So just set it to a commonly used shape, and then when a user uses this feature definition, they're going to need to define their own physical information here. The reason why I've opted to create one for each material is so that we could have a 3D representation in the 3D model with the correct material assigned. But that material that's assigned in the 3D model is not the same as the material that we're putting in here. So it's important that this is going to already match what you have the feature set up with.